Time magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind your Resolute desk?
I thought that was like a Photoshop. Is he actually on the cover of Time? Ooh, I didn't know that. I thought this was just a fucking dick rider meme.
Did you have a reaction to the new Time?
What's the worst case scenario with Elon and Doge? The worst case scenario is like a total fuck up of the entire American fucking government. USAID, one of the nice things about USAID is that for all the bad stuff America does around the world, USAID was just an organization that did a lot of nice things. Like it put a lot of money into efforts to help people in a variety of ways, like both materially and culturally. It's just like a nice way for the United States to have a positive presence around the world, and then reflectively for people to have a nicer opinion of us in places where like USAID was present and doing work. So it just sucks to see that like organization of goodwill just being eliminated, I guess. Just an interesting email I got, I guess. Dear Destiny, I would ask that you speak more on the USAID situation that is currently ongoing. I'm sure you're aware of the talking points. 1% of the federal budget supports the USAID soft power worldwide, signed into law after passing both the Senate and the House. But a key point is how this funding is crucial to maintaining the U.S.'s reputation abroad. There are a large amount of foreign nationals in more closed-off nations that look to the USA as a beacon of democracy, and USAID is a pillar of that trust. The network of individuals worldwide that are part of USAID programs, in some respect, is incredibly large as well. And a lot of grant funding goes to co-financing or reimbursing costs that, if not reimbursed, would cause great financial burden and collapse for countless aid workers, farmers, private sector actors, and other aid or aid-adjacent organizations. Another key point is the countless projects and individuals reliant on those projects. To name a few of the notable ones, PEPFAR, which invests in HIV/AIDS programs to save those with HIV and AIDS and prevent future HIV infections, and is critical in helping to control the global pandemic. FuseNet, the Famine Early Warning System Network, which is a website designed to do analysis and predict food insecurity, droughts, and disasters, particularly in East and West Africa. The Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance, which oversees emergency and prolonged humanitarian assistance funding to alleviate chronic and acute food insecurity and malnutrition. Is the one bureau that the administration is saying will be the first to get waivers, but their staff are being actively removed. These are projects and departments designed to save lives globally and are crucial to the survival of countless communities as they try to weather out the food insecurity and disaster brought on by climate change. All this to say, despite the lack of media coverage, which often necessitates your coverage, I would implore you to cover this and speak out. This is the first step in a long chain of illiberalism and democratic backsliding. The administration can begin to dismantle and disregard agencies and departments instituted by Congress. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems kind of sad that the abolishing of USAID is unconstitutional. No, Congress had no say, right? I mean, like, technically, but it's like, it's one of those things watching Lactose and fucking Pisco argue last night where you have to understand, anybody that moderates any place on the internet should know this. You can't craft rules for bad actors. Like, bad actors are always going to destroy any system that you create. So, like, is it constitutional for the president to literally end USAID? No. But could he, like, furlough all of the employees or save all the money and just spend it on the last day of the year, or have them all run around in circles in Canada until they all die of exhaustion? Like, so there's like technically there's a lot of things that he could do to sabotage it that wouldn't be in the spirit of the Constitution or the spirit of how the laws are written. But technically it's legal. But then also, like, at that point, you don't really care what's legal anyway, you know? Isn't that contrary to the president taking care to execute the law that creates USAID? But what you're talking about, that's like a spiritual argument. It's a lot different than, like, if somebody's in bad faith and can go line by line through whatever and fight with you. Yeah, I don't know. Do you ever cook food? If so, what do you like to cook? I haven't ordered out in like 2 or 3 weeks. You'd be so proud of me. I got a rice cooker, so I just make fucking shit in that, basically. I don't even think Trump and Elon will ever butt heads. They seem to see the value in each other. I think we all predicted by now their egos are too big to accept one another taking the limelight. I don't think that's going to pan out. I mean, they both seem to be covering quite different areas, right? Like, Elon is kind of the more material on the ground guy, and Trump is just like saying random shit publicly. So it's... The courts have pushed back on the USAID thing. USAID workers can't be replaced on leave. Federal judge rules. Yeah, but isn't this like the second or third TRO that has come out because they weren't following the other ones? Like, will the government actually stop? Hold on.
Magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind your Resolute desk.
タイムマガジンにイーロン・マスクが
Wait, someone said they paused the USAID leave. Even if they do pause it though, like just imagine if you're an employee there, like how do you even feel working knowing that the president is trying to get rid of your entire organization? Like even if they do pause it for a little bit, like I don't know, I feel like the morale and everything's got to be obliterated. But
To the new Time magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind your Resolute desk.
タイムマガジンにイーロン・マスクが大統領の机の後ろで座っている写真がありますけども、それに関するコメントは何かありますか？
Is Time Magazine still in business? I didn't even know that.
まだタイムマガジンは
The question was so pointed, right? Your Resolute desk. What did you think of that? And you just saw, like, he first was like, no. And you could see the wheels still turning, that he perhaps thought he was being too defensive, and then comes up with the quip of like, oh, is Time Magazine still in business? But that is what we call a pregnant pause between those two things that happened. He obviously, you know, I know AIDS will tell us, oh, you guys got this all wrong, and he doesn't care. He told us right there how much he cares about
Yeah,
this.
I had given him a lot of credit for staying disciplined and not appearing to get trolled into, you know, making comments that shows when his feelings are hurt. He was pulled in this time. And I think that quip about is Time Magazine still in business showed that it did nick him a little bit. And he wasn't able to hide it as well as perhaps he might want to.
if this is the center left, then we are
Did someone tell y'all to do this? Who?
absolutely based.
I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like.
Are we doing like press conferences every day again? Is that what he's doing, or?
But I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 rioters cases. Are you planning to fire the FBI agents who worked on those investigations?
No, but I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that. I got to know a lot about that business, that world. I got to know a lot about that world, that we had some corrupt agents, and those people are gone, or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically. Did you have a question for the Prime Minister? Talk up.
Are those the ones who worked on the January 6th?
I don't know. I know we have some that are very corrupt and we don't like it. We're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI. Kash Patel is going to do a great job. And we're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI, which has been hurt very badly. It's been devastated over the last 4 years. But I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked.
I love how we can just like say all of this without any like, yeah, some are corrupt and need to be arrested. It's like, who? I don't know. Haven't looked into it at all. These people? Don't know. Just somebody must be. Okay. Okay, dude. Catherine Long, the journalist of the hit piece that got a Doge employee to resign for spicy posts, is a USAID employee. How did you find yourself in your current role? I came to the Seattle Times straight out of the Columbia Journalism School's investigative reporting master's program. Before matriculating at Columbia, I'd been working for the federal government, managing USAID projects in Central Asia. Well, it sounds like she used to work for the federal government. When somebody, I'm curious, when somebody says they work for the government, this never means a contractor, right? It means they're actually hired by the government. But it sounds like they used to, right? Not was a USAID or was a USAID employee or was a federal government employee. But okay. But it's also not surprising. There's a really interesting game that people play. This has to do with everything also, by the way. It has to do with revolving door lobbyists. It has to do with people that think that there's like corruption going on. People will write about what's the crime. Well, the insinuation is that I guess the USAID has some lifelong hold on her. Like, people write about and people report on and people work with things that they're familiar with. So when you go into any area and you're looking for connections and you're like, oh my God, this guy writes so much about homeless people. Let me dig into this guy. It's like, this guy used to work with the Californian homeless assistance program. Ha, fucking got me. Yeah, no shit. What do you think he used to do? If he's writing about something, or if he's reporting on something, or if he's covering something so frequently, they probably do have some type of firsthand experience with it, right? That makes sense, you know? Or people leave government in one industry and then they go from the FDA to the pharmaceutical. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. They probably have a huge background. My guess is in stuff relating to pharmaceutical products. So they're not working for the government doing it, they're probably working for a private company doing it, right? Not to say that there maybe could be like a conflict of interest or whatever. That's possible, of course. But it's not like, that's not always like a conspiracy or something horrible, you know? Certainly improper, possibly criminal. What's the crime? This is true. A lot of speech, a lot of actions that these guys want to criminalize. Kind of weird that they were supposed to be the free speech guys. What do you think about the Ezra Klein/Jacobin assessment that the Dems have been captured by corporations and NGOs for their policy positions? I would have to see the argument in particular. I would never put Ezra Klein next to Jacobin, though. Do those guys have like an official business relationship? Jacobin is a trash website that's never worth taking at face value. Ezra Klein seems like he's a pretty smart dude, generally. What's your opinion on Luke Beasley? Is he very credible? I haven't seen Luke say anything wrong ever. Yeah. Or anything like stupid or off, whatever. I'll be signing an executive order next week ending the ridiculous Biden push for paper straws. Thanks for reversing that decision. I can't tell you how many times I've found paper straws in the pockets of my 3 teenage boys while doing laundry. They mess up the washer and dryer, resulting in rewash. I bet we are wasting more energy and water now than when we had plastic straws. What? Russ Vought, Trump's budget guy, just confirmed 5347 by the Senate, caught on hidden camera saying Trump's Project 25 disavowal was a lie. They're keeping their real plan secret. They want to only let in Christian immigrants. Getting a lot more Hispanics.
In an ideal world, I think we
I think we already saw this, didn't we? I don't know if there's like more footage here that we hadn't seen before.
We could save the country in a sense of, the largest deportation in history. And once that starts, you're going to be winning a debate along the way about what that looks like, right? Yeah. And so that's going to cause us to get us off of multiculturalism just to be able to sustain and defend the deportation, right? If we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something, or do we have to have, are we not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law? So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism, because I also believe in nationalism.
Behind closed doors, Vogt tells us not to take Trump's disavowal seriously.
I expect to hear 10 more times from the rally the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman.
I feel like I've answered this question 50 quadrillion times. Destiny, do you regret not going deeper and harder on Project 2025 stuff now that it seems to be the way things are actually going? I'm going to give you the same answer I've given a billion times. My issue with Project 2025 was never that it wasn't bad or that it wasn't likely to happen. It was just that I don't think Americans care much about policy. So focusing on a whole book of policy stuff, most Americans aren't going to give a fuck. I've said this a million times.
Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
He's running against the brand. He is not running against any people.
Okay.
He is not running against any institutions. It's interesting. He's in fact not even opposing himself to a particular policy. Yeah. He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it from the, I remember walking into our last day in office and told him what I was going to do. So he's very supportive of what we do.
Our investigation into Project 2025 began 2 weeks before the meeting with Vogt at a conference for religious nationalists in D.C.
The truth is, Christian nationalism is not a threat to American democracy. Christian nationalism founded America.
Okay. Destiny conclude the judge did bar Bessent from accessing the data himself or didn't bar Bessent from... I don't think he barred him. I think that's bullshit. I think Charlie Kirk's just lying.
Welcome to Mar-a-Lago, the Winter White House in Palm Beach, Florida. We're pleased to be joined by the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Happy Super Bowl.
Thank you.
You are going to be the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl. It's a big day for America, always is. What made you want to do it?
Well,
Wait, why do no presidents ever go to the Super Bowl? Is that like a thing?
First of all, I'm very surprised to hear that. I would have assumed many presidents came, but I think just the spirit of the country's taken on a whole new life. I thought it would be a good thing for the country to have the president be at the game.
I mean, it's an iconic day.
It's an iconic day. It's going to be a great game, two great teams, and let's see what happens.
You know, it seems the first days of this administration are like a no-huddle offense. You know, plays going down the field, one after another. There's a long list of things you've already got done in 3 weeks. Big border policy changes, ICE crackdowns on criminals, taking biological men out of women and girls sports, big energy policy changes. So what's different with you and your administration? The difference between the 45th president...
So nothing. He's done nothing so far. These are just a bunch of executive orders, but okay.
And the 47th president.
Also, I like how he doesn't bring up that birthright citizenship one, which was arguably the largest type of order that he tried to do, but okay.
With you and your administration, the difference between the 45th president and the 47th president.
Well, with the 45th, I had tremendous opposition, but I didn't know people, and I didn't have the kind of support that I needed. I put people in office, some really great ones, but I had some that I wouldn't have put. I would have, known better if it were a couple of years later, or if I had a little more experience in D.C. I was a New York person, not a D.C. person. And I had a lot of opposition. I just noticed, I looked on the stage for the recent inauguration, and I'm looking, it's like a who's who of Washington. Well, if you look on the stage for the first one, it was just the opposite.
So some of your plays have raised some questions and had some pushbacks. 19 states' attorneys.
How long are we taking this football metaphor for? Okay.
General filed a lawsuit, and early Saturday, a judge agreed with them to restrict Elon Musk and his government efficiency team, Doge, from accessing Treasury Department payment and data systems. They said there was a risk of irreparable harm. What do you make of that? And does that slow you down on what you want to do?
No, I disagree with it 100%. I think it's crazy, and we have to solve the efficiency problem. We have to solve the fraud, waste, abuse, all the things that have gone into the government. You take a look at the USAID, the kind of fraud in there,
and you
where
found
the money's
significant
going.
things.
Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's going to places where it shouldn't be going.
Notice I get so depressed. I don't know if it's worth pointing out. Notice the switch there that he did, right? There's hundreds of millions of dollars of fraud. Fraud? Well, it's going to places that I don't like. Okay, so is that fraud or...
Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's going to places where it shouldn't be going, where if I read a list, you'd say this is ridiculous, and you've read the same lists, and there are many that you haven't even seen. It's crazy. It's a big scam. Now, there's some good money, and we can do that through any one of a number. I think I'd rather give it to Marco Rubio over at the State Department. Let him take care of the few good ones. So I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon.
He doesn't have the authority to do that. He can't just destroy an entire department authorized by Congress, but
Musk,
that's illegal. He's just talking about doing illegal things, but nobody understands or cares.
Who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. But I campaigned on this, Brett.
You announced a tariff.
I like how there's cut after cut after cut after cut that are it's so obvious in this, but like none of the Trumples who freaked the fuck out over Kamala's cut are going to say anything about it, but...
On Canada and Mexico, you immediately got action from both of them on border security and drug interdiction.
I did. A lot of action that nobody expected.
Is that good enough?
No, it's not good enough.
So more needed in 30 days.
Something has to happen. It's not sustainable, and I'm changing it.
You know, the Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian business.
The president technically can do what he's doing, not legally, no.
Sustainable. And I'm changing it.
You know, the Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was at a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why are we paying $200 billion a year, essentially in subsidy to Canada. Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it.
You said the tariff is a beautiful word. There are some signs in the markets, consumer confidence, that they're a little jittery. So if all goes to plan,
a little jittery.
when do you think families will be able to feel prices going down, groceries, energy, or are you kind of saying to them, hang on, inflation may get worse until it gets better?
No, I think we're going to become a rich. Look, we're not that rich right now. We owe $36 trillion. That's because we let all these nations take advantage of us. Same thing, like 200 billion with Canada. We owe 300. We have a deficit with Mexico of $350 billion. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen.
Sports has always been something that Americans rally around to come together. They really do. You won the
Oh, you think it's going to bring up Canadians booing us at sporting events right now, or?
popular vote. You won all the swing states. Have you thought about how to try to bring the country together, to reach out or to find common ground? Have you thought about that or how that might go?
I'd love to do it, but I would say this. We have to come together, but to come together, there's only one thing that's going to do it, and that's massive success. Success will bring the country together, but it's hard. And I say it's hard. I just signed a bill allowing for women not to have to be punished by men in sports. In other words, men are not going to be allowed to play in sports against women. It's ridiculous.
You're a sports guy. You're a football fan.
Why can't he just say, or never mind, I was going to say, why can't he just say, like, I ban trans women from sports? Why not just say that? But then it's probably because they don't think that's a real thing, I guess, yeah.
Size up these two teams.
I'm a big fan of both teams. They're sort of different. In Philadelphia, you have one of the greatest running backs, Saquon. You know, Saquon had an uncle who was a great fighter, and Iran Barkley, his name was. So you have a great running back. You really have a great quarterback. The other team, the quarterback really knows how to win. He is a great, great quarterback.
So game prediction?
I hate to do it. I just say that I've watched this great quarterback who has, by the way, a phenomenal wife, okay? She's a Trump fan, she's a MAGA fan, so I happen to love her, okay? But she's a great person. I watched her being interviewed. I said, well, that's pretty good. But she's great.
Do you think he knows the teams that are playing?
And he's great. I guess you have to say that when a quarterback wins as much as he's won, I have to go with Kansas City. I have to go with Kansas City.
Does he know the names of any of the players he's talking about, the quarterbacks? Or does he?
At the same time, Philadelphia has a fantastic game. It's going to be just a great game.
Finally, listen, you are the most recognized person in the world, likely the most imitated person in the world. Every comedian has Donald Trump imitation, everyone. But now you have UFC fighters winning fights, NFL players doing the Trump dance. Yeah. Did you ever think that was going to be a thing?
No, I didn't. I mean, we do these rallies. They've always been great, but they got really great. And it's just, I don't know what it is. I try and walk off sometimes without dancing, and I can't. I have to dance because it's just got something special about it.
Mr. President, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the game. You can see the rest of the interview on a host of other topics on Special Report Monday on Fox News Channel. In the meantime, we'll send it back to our Fox team in New Orleans after a short break to the kickoff of Super Bowl 59.
That was a real hard hitter. Oh, man. Jeez, what a... I'm surprised he walked out of that interview alive. My leader, my president. Holy sh**. Oh, no, it's Aegon. Oh, never mind. We're back.
And we're flying right over it right now. So we thought this would be appropriate. Even bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a big thing. And, well, that's a good...
Oh, you even got a little fucking map made. How cute. Wow.
Isn't that nice? You know, we're about make America great again, right? That's what we care about. Okay, here we go. So this is a famous pen now, and we'll put it with something. I'll ask you to do whatever you think we should do with it, Mr. Secretary. Do you want to talk about, Doug, Secretary of the Interior, and also working with Chris Wright on extracting vast amounts of oil and gas and making our country rich. Would you like to say something?
Well, with the Gulf of America, this is a historic day. We want to thank President Trump. His executive order is what set this in motion. We signed a secretarial order from Secretary of Interior directing the U.S. Geologic Survey, who is responsible for the database, which is the Geographic Names Informational System. And so just prior to this signing, if you will, the button was pushed. It became official with this proclamation to call today Gulf of America Day. But now it's going out. As we're sitting here right now, our team is calling all the map providers, so Google Maps, Apple Maps, all the map people. That change will take effect this afternoon to Gulf of America. So again, fantastic. Thank you, President Trump, for setting this all in motion with your executive order. It's an exciting, fun day, and great to do this as we're flying over the Gulf of America.
We thought it would be very appropriate. We thought it would be appropriate. Catherine, thank you very much for being here. It's been a very important part of his life. And who knows what would have happened to him without you. It might not have been good. Here you go. Okay.
Have you talked to Mexico about this?
Actually, interestingly, I've never spoken to him about it. It was our call. And I have not spoken to him about. I've spoken to him about many other things, but I haven't really talked to him about this. They have never brought it up. I'm a little surprised at that, but they've never brought it up.
Sir, can you tell us about your conversation with Vladimir Putin?
I don't want to do that now. No. We're trying to end that war. It's a war that would have never happened if I were president. It would have never happened. But we're making progress. But I can't.
Thank God. Can't talk about it. That's so. God, what a genius. I can't spoil my plans, but it's being fixed. But I can't give you a timeline. But trust me.
Mr. President, and J.D. Vance said judges aren't allowed to control the executive power. What's your take on that?
Well, we're going to see what happens. We have a long way to go, and we're talking about fraud, waste, abuse. And when a president can't look for fraud and waste and abuse, we don't have a country anymore. So we're very disappointed with the judges that would make such a ruling. But we have a long way to go. We have to look. We have to find all of the fraud that's going on. We have tremendous fraud, tremendous waste, and tremendous abuse, and theft, by the way. And the day you're not allowed to look for theft and fraud, etc., then we don't have much of a country. So no judge should be. No judge should frankly be allowed to make that kind of a decision. It's a disgrace.
Mr. President, a few years ago, Gulf of America, Canada, Greenland, Gaza, all these are very muscular foreign policy. How does this align with America first?
Because it makes us bigger, stronger, and better.
It's so based. God, he's so based. He's so based. How does fucking threatening to invade everybody make us better? Makes us bigger, stronger, and better. Haven't you heard the Kanye song?
Muscular foreign policy. How does this align with America first?
Because it makes us bigger, stronger, and better, and more protective. We need Greenland because of national security, international security, world peace. And we'll have to do that. Canada, we'll see what happens with Canada, but the people of Canada would be paying less than half of the tax. If you look at the tax, they would be paying less.
Like, I can't tell. Does he really think that there's any chance that Canada becomes the 51st state? Like, is that actually happening, or what?
Less than half the tax. They don't pay very much for military, and the reason they don't pay much is they assume that we're going to protect them. That's not an assumption they can make, because why are we protecting another country? Now, I love the people of Canada. We have a great relationship. But if they became our 51st state, it would be the greatest thing they could ever do. It would be unbelievable. It would be a cherished state. And think of how beautiful that country would be without that artificial line running right through it. Somebody drew it many years ago with a ruler, just a line. You look at how beautiful that is, wow, it would be very exciting. But if you look at Canada, it would be cherished as a 51st state. They don't pay their share of military in NATO. They pay very little for military. They're not protected at all. And the reason is they think we're going to protect them. The other thing is we subsidize them to the tune of about $200 billion a year. If we stop doing that, if we stop allowing them to make cars through tariffs and other things, cars, trucks, etc., what they make, they're not viable as a country.
So would you agree that it's a more aggressive foreign policy than your first term? And why is that?
It's more aggressive. It's better. Why? Because I think I've had a lot of experience. And in my first term, I was fighting everybody because they were very aggressive toward me. I always said survival and taking care of the country, not necessarily in that order. But I had to take care of the country, but I had a bunch of lunatics like Pelosi and all of these people. They fought me, and we won. And, I had a lot of other things that were going on there. This time, it's much more, they've lost their confidence. I think they've lost the respect of the American people with, men participating in women's sports, with open borders, with transgender for everybody, for all the things that they're doing.
For everybody.
So bad when you
transgender for everybody. Oh no.
Allow people to empty their jails into your country with prisoners, killers, their mental institutions and insane asylums into our country. This is what they're doing. When you allow gang members from Venezuela, but many other countries coming into our country, we're getting them all out now. They've lost their credibility, but they've also lost their confidence. So I have more time to do what I want to do. So we're making our country larger. We're making our country stronger. And in the case of Canada, if this should happen, I don't know how they can do it without us, because without the U.S., Canada really doesn't have a country. They do almost all of their business with us. And if we say we want our cars to be made in Detroit, with a stroke of a pen, I can do that. And other things in addition to that would not allow Canada to be a viable country.
Mr. President, you said you're going to honor first responders today.
We should stop calling these tariffs and we should just call them sanctions. It sounds like that's really what we're doing, right? Like
you pardoned hundreds of people who assaulted first responders. Why did you do that?
Who? I'm sorry?
You were going to meet with first responders today.
Yeah.
But you pardoned people who assaulted first responders.
No, I pardoned people that were assaulted themselves. They were assaulted by our government. I pardoned J6 people who were assaulted by our government. That's who were assaulted, and they were treated unfairly. There's never been a group of people in this country, outside of maybe one instance that I can think of, but I won't get into it, that were treated more horribly than the people of J6. So, no, I didn't assault. They didn't assault. They were assaulted. And what I did was a great thing for humanity. They were treated very, very unfairly. There's never been an incident like it.
My J6 warriors.
You realize if you don't clarify that, everyone's going to assume you're talking to President Putin regularly.
Well, they can assume it.
So is it safe
It makes
to-
sense. Well, I don't want to talk about it. And if we are talking, I don't want to tell you about the conversation. It's too early. But I do believe we're making progress. We want to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. And I want to stop it just because I hate to see all these young people being killed. The soldiers are being killed by the hundreds of thousands.
You're starting to put together a plan for like a peace formula or for some sort of resolution.
We're talking to both sides.
Okay. And then on Japan, are you okay with having a foreign country having the controlling interest in a U.S. steel company?
Well, now let's look at this. When I came here, they were going to buy it, and Biden was going to approve it. All of a sudden, Biden didn't because he heard I wasn't going to. I don't want U.S. steel being owned by a foreign country. They can have they don't have a controlling. They have an investment. All they're going to have is an investment. I don't mind an investment in a company, but especially U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel for 15 years was the greatest company in the world, the greatest #1 company in the world. And I'm not going to let another country buy it. We had a great meeting on that, but they are allowed to invest in it, and that's different.
Mr. President, on tariffs, sir, you've talked about reciprocal tariffs coming in this week. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And are you announcing a plan for it this week?
Yeah, I'll be
Tariffs
announcing.
themselves kick in this week.
I'll be announcing.
Could the US be a viable country without Canada? Say they cut ties, will the US be fine? I mean, the US and Canada could both survive without each other. It would just be worse. I mean,
Probably Tuesday or Wednesday at a news conference, reciprocal tariffs, and very simply, it's if they charge us, we charge them. That's all.
When does it go into effect, sir?
Almost immediately, but I'll be announcing the details of it, highly detailed, and it'll be great for everybody, including the other countries. But if they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way.
This is on every country?
Every country will be reciprocal. That's right. Every country. It won't affect everybody because there's.
wait, can the president unilaterally make holidays? Like February 9th isn't it like Gulf of America Day? Like, are these like new holidays we get off school and banks are closed and
Somewhere we have
or is this like one of those minor federal holidays?
tariffs, but the ones that are taking advantage of the United States, we're going to have it's reciprocity, it's reciprocal. We're going to have a reciprocal tariff. But we'll have a news conference Tuesday or Wednesday.
Just on the steel question, just so I understand.
We'll also be announcing steel tariffs on Monday.
On this tomorrow?
Monday, yeah, tomorrow.
What countries will those go on?
Everybody, steel.
Including Canada, Mexico,
Yeah,
United States?
any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
Jesus.
Aluminum too.
10%?
The whole market, every country, 25%.
No, 25%.
25 for aluminum.
25 for both.
And on steel, sir, are you ruling out then Nippon Steel having a 51% stake or higher? They won't have a majority stake?
Nobody can have a majority stake for U.S. Steel. They can for other companies, but not for U.S. Steel. I think you agree with that, don't you? U.S. Steel was one of our great companies, and through a lot of stupidity and bad government, and also bad management of the company, it lost that luster. But it's going to gain it back, and tariffs are going to help. Tariffs are going to make it very successful again. And I think it is good management there, too. Yeah.
Sorry, may I ask one, please? Can you tell me, can you confirm that you'll be meeting with MBS and CC of Egypt soon? Will that be at the White House? Or?
Well, I'll be meeting with all of them numerous times, by the way, but I'll be meeting with all of them. And yeah, I think that it's a big mistake to allow people, the Palestinians or the people living in Gaza, to go back yet another time. And we don't want Hamas going back. And think of it as a big real estate site. And the United States is going to own it and will slowly, very slowly,
Like, this is some shit you would hear Alex Jones say. Like this is the president of our country is just saying the most retarded shit. Like, fuck me, dude. Just fuck me.
rush development. We're going to bring stability to the Middle East in a totally war-torn part of the Middle East, a part of the Middle East that has caused tremendous problem, the Gaza Strip, and we'll own it. It's totally demolished right now. It's a demolition site. It'll be reclaimed. It'll be leveled out, fixed up. There won't be anybody there. Hamas won't be there. We'll be building through other of the very rich countries in the Middle East. They'll be building some beautiful sites for the people, for the Palestinians to live in. They'll be living in harmony and peace probably for the first time in hundreds of years.
And just to clarify, I know you don't want to tell us about your conversation with President Putin, but can you clarify whether you had that since you've been in office, or whether it happened before you became president?
I've had it. Let's just say I've had it. And I expect to have many more conversations. We have to get that war ended. It's going to end, and we have to get it ended. And we have to get it ended. So should have never happened, would have never happened if I was president.
Just President, a couple years ago, your vice president said that suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way you don't like, just let them enforce it. Do you agree with that?
Say the last part.
The vice president suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way that you don't like, they can just enforce it by themselves. Do you agree with that?
I don't know even what you're talking about. Neither do you. Who are you with?
Up close, sir.
Who?
Up close.
Oh, no wonder. I thought they died. Are they still around? I haven't read them in years. I thought they died. All right, go ahead. Who else?
clearance. You're yanking a lot of them. Why is it the country safer to take away the AG security clearance? Is that a form of retribution?
If there's somebody, no. If there are people that we don't respect, if there are people that we thought that were...
Do they have the door open? Why? It's not normally this loud in the cabin, is it? In an airplane? Well, like, why is it so fucking loud in here?
Breaking the law, came very close to it in previous years. We do it. And we've done it with some people. We've done it with Biden himself. We think our country is not as safe if you gave him clearance. We don't think he knows what he's doing. And what he's done to this country is a disgrace. And what he's done in terms of allowing criminals, murderers, drug lords into our country, people from mental institutions into our country, he should be ashamed of himself.
On deportations, there's been some reporting.
Windows open so they can repaint Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America.
That have said that there haven't been more deportations. Can you clarify that?
I think they're doing an incredible job. It's very tough. Deportations, finding murderers is not easy. Some of them are actually very smart. They shouldn't be in our country. They wouldn't have been. We had beautiful, we just set records for closure. We have the strongest border we've had in many years since my term. But even for many, many years, decades before that.
How can you even measure that? You've been in office for less than a month. What?
They're doing an amazing job, I think. Tom Homan's doing an amazing job. Kristi Noem's doing an amazing job. But it's not easy finding murderers who know they're being looked for. But we're sending out thousands of people. We're getting rid of thousands of criminals from our country.
So, do you expect to meet him in person?
Where?
Putin. Do you anticipate meeting with him?
I would imagine I would be meeting with Putin, yes, at the right time. I think at the right time, at the appropriate time.
Gaza. The White House press secretary told us last week that you're committed to rebuilding Gaza. Steve Witkoff said that process would take 10 to 15 years. Does your commitment to rebuilding Gaza extend beyond your time in office?
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us revisit move back, there's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe. But we'll make it into a very good site for future development by somebody. We'll let other countries develop parts of it. It'll be beautiful. People can come from all over the world and live there. But we're going to take care of the Palestinians. We're going to make sure they live beautifully and in harmony and in peace. And they're
like, pro-Pallies were making the retarded argument that Israel always planned to ethnically cleanse and take over the Gaza Strip. Pro-Zionists were always making the retarded argument that they were always going to allow Palestinians to live there. And what nobody realized was that actually the United States was going to ethnically cleanse and take over all of the Gaza Strip. Nobody saw that coming.
They're not murdered. This has been the most dangerous site anywhere in the world to live in. Hamas has been a disaster. And by the way, I have to tell you that I watched the hostages come back today, and they look like Holocaust survivors. They were in horrible condition. They were emaciated. It looked like many years ago, the Holocaust survivors. And
wait, can somebody link me some pictures? Now, I know these people have been beat up bad. It's not good. And the people coming back it's not good. But did they really look emaciated? Does anybody have, I know they do in Ukraine, but we don't care about that conflict, I guess. But did the Israeli hostages coming back from Palestine, were they like starving to death? Somebody link me a picture, go.
Longer we can take that. When I watch that, I know we have a deal where we're supposed to get, they dribble in and keep dribbling in, but they are in really bad shape. They have been treated brutally, horribly. Even the ones that came out earlier, they were in a little bit better shape, but mentally they were treated so badly. Who could take that? At some point, we're going to lose our patience. When I see that scene that I saw today with people coming out of helicopters and airplanes that are emaciated, that look like they haven't had a meal in a month, there's no reason for that, and I don't know how much longer we can take it.
Do you mean you want to recast?
I don't know how long we can take it. When I watch people that were healthy people a reasonably short number of years ago, and you look at them today, they look like they've aged 25 years. They literally look like the old pictures of Holocaust survivors. The same thing. I mean, the same thing.
Okay. I mean, they look rough. I don't know if I would say emaciated, but who cares? Whatever. I don't know.
I don't know how long we're going to take that.
Have you got some advancement in your proposals for some of the Gulf or Arab nations to take some of the Palestinian people? And if not, what do you think the reason is for their hesitance? Is there some very honest reason that they've even told you privately or that you think why they're hesitant to take the Palestinian people?
Why are they hesitant to take them? Because they never spoke to me. They spoke to other people. They didn't speak to me. When they speak to me, they're going to take them.
Is it because they think that you would not allow them to return to Gaza?
No, they don't want to return to Gaza. If we could give them a home in a safer area, the only reason they're talking about returning to Gaza is they don't have an alternative. When they have an alternative, they don't want to return to Gaza. If they had a home that was safe, where you don't have Hamas threatening them, killing them, torturing them,
you know what, it works.
They'd rather not return to Gaza. But right now, Gaza is the only alternative. As far as the other regions, the only reason they maybe don't act enthusiastic is they haven't talked to me. They talk to other people, but not to me. When they talk to me, they'll be enthusiastic.
And on spending, you found some maybe questionable expenditures, or Elon Musk?
Not some questionable. The whole country looks like it's a fraud. It's fraud, waste, abuse, but it's a tremendous fraud. And what Elon and his group of geniuses have found is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And that's just in USAID. Soon we're going into education. You'll find the same thing, but bigger. Soon we're going into the military, and you're going to find a lot of bad things happening there. You'll find it because our government has not functioned properly for many, many years, and we're going to make it function properly. We're even looking at treasuries. There could be a problem. You've been reading about that with treasuries. And that could be an interesting problem because it could be that a lot of those things don't count. In other words, that some of that stuff that we're finding is very fraudulent. Therefore, maybe we have less debt.
Like, he's like mastered the art of saying fucking nothing. It's like he speaks with so little substance. It's insane.
We thought of. Think of that. So a lot of things are happening, but Elon's doing an excellent job. We started with 12 guys with high IQs, and now we have 100 guys with very high IQs.
Do you think Congress has failed to do their oversight, or do you think your first administrations of your cabinet agencies?
I think everybody failed. I think everybody failed.
And why does Elon's financial disclosure remain secret?
Because nobody's looking at that. We're looking at all the corruption that's taken place. I mean, his financial disclosure is largely the number of shares that he's got in very public companies, and that's not secret at all. If you read that, you'll see a lot. I mean, he talks about his whole thing. I read one where it really gave a very good history of him, but basically it's a number of shares times a certain stock price.
So why is that not public?
It is public. All you have to do is read it.
So USAID, sir, what is kind of like the message to countries that depend on humanitarian aid distributed through USAID? What is your message to those countries?
The ones that have been, the few that have been legitimate in terms of getting legitimate money, will probably put it through the State Department. It'll be handled by Marco Rubio, highly respected man, Secretary of State. There's no reason for USAID, when you look at the politicians that have been in there sucking the blood out of it, when you look at all of the fake deals. I mean, look, all you have to do is get a list of all of the things you can see by the heading. It's fake, it's fraudulent, it's probably kickbacks, where they send the money and then it gets kicked.
Please don't make me... Or actually, you know what? I will do it. Never mind, because I shit on the Palestinians for so long. I will shit on the Israelis. Well, fuck, it's also personal to you. Listen, I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean, okay? But you said, my friend's dad, their family reaction to seeing him losing all that weight, chilling photo. First of all, I'm not getting memed, am I? This isn't like a famous photo of some other completely unrelated bullshit, right? Like, they're probably crying because they see him for the first time in fucking however many years, right? Like, it's, or not, or no, actually, Jesus. In over a year, I guess, right? I seriously, like, I don't know how you could look at this and be like, oh my God, they're definitely crying because it looks like he's lost weight. Is it 15 months? Yeah, 15 months. They're probably just emotional because they're seeing him for the first time in a long time. No matter what he looks like, I imagine they would be crying. Reverse image search. This is going to be some fucking sports photo with some stupid sports ball team losing. Hamas releases 3 for... Okay, never mind. Whew, thank God. It's good that some of them are coming back, though. I mean, that's good. It's an Arma 3 photo. Kill me.
Kick back to the person that sent it. So the ones that are good, and there are not many of them, but the ones that are good, and there are some, will probably have that be handled by Marco Rubio in the State Department.
Will they take on some of the USAID workers?
They could, if they like. I don't know that it's going to exist. Why would you need it? The State Department can take care of it.
Do you think the amount of spending on foreign aid will decrease also, or just the number of employees?
It should decrease, yeah. I hope it decreases.
Yeah, like how much?
When we have $36 trillion in debt, and we're taking care of countries that are very rich and sending aid to countries, in some cases, that are rich, in some cases, they're not rich. But no, it should very much decrease. But it won't be the scams that you've seen.
The NIH put out a memo on Friday night. It's going to cut $4 billion from the percentage that they pay universities and public colleges, but all those states, not foreign countries. $4 billion. Is that okay to take off?
Sure. It could be okay. I mean, you have to look at the university. Some are legit. You could also say, why are we giving money to Harvard when it's got a $50 billion endowment? $50 billion. And yet they don't use that endowment to help their students.
This is for research, like biomedical research.
That's fine. Look, we want to take care of research. We want to do a lot of things. But when you look at the USAID and you look at all the things and all the scams that was with, I don't have to go through it now, but I'll get you a little list. And you'll see one after another. There were very few legitimate. It was the opposite. Usually you find something wrong, like 1 out of 100. But this is the opposite. Here, almost everything was wrong. You find very few that were good. But there were some that were good. That'll be handled by the State Department, I assume. That's not final yet, but I think the best would be Marco Rubio at the State Department. 1 or 2 more.
Just as a heads up, he's not allowed to do that. Not that it matters.
Going to launch services. Is the Pentagon spending too much to launch services for space?
I think space is going to be a very important element. You know, I'm the one that came up with Space Force. I'm very proud of it. Biden tried to get out of it, and he was really rebuked by the military.
Did Biden try to kill the Space Force? Is that true?
I think space is going to be one of the most important things we do. It's going to be all about space, especially defense. So space is very important.
You're going there.
Would you accept Palestinian refugees into the United States since you're looking at other countries?
I'd have to look. I think it's a very far distance for them to travel. but I'd have to look at individual cases. But I do think that coming into the United States, we're taking a lot of people, but coming into the United States, it's a long way for them to travel. They're far away from their families and their friends and everything else. I think they'd be very happy staying in the general area in a place that was safe, where they could be safe and lead a good life. They don't want to go back to Gaza. As I said, I've said it a lot. They only go back because they have no alternative. They don't want to go back to Gaza. So we'll see. We hope that we'll be helped.
It's such a profoundly stupid statement, too. No, I mean, it's not surprising. Like, Trump doesn't know anything about really about anything in the world, save for, I guess, like Diet Coke and McDonald's or wherever the fuck he orders his shit from. Like, they only go back because it's like, yeah, okay, dude.
Egypt, we hope that we'll be helped by Jordan. We hope that we'll be helped by other countries. We hope that some of the, like Saudi Arabia and others, can spend some money on it. They have tremendous amounts of money. They'll spend some money on making people comfortable and safe.
One question about the Super Bowl. You're going to the game. One of the big things that you've done so far in office is cracking down on DEI. I saw that the NFL commissioner said, I think this week, that they're happy with their diversity program. What's your
Watch the Ryan Macbeth video on Gaza takeover? No, you can link it, though.
take on that? Would you like to see any changes there?
I don't know what the diversity program is. To be honest, I know Roger very well. I'd have to look at what he said he's happy with. He was happy also with the flag and a lot of other things that didn't work out too well. We'll have to see what he was happy with. But right now, that's you know what the law is. The law is the law, and it changed, and it's been backed up by the U.S. Supreme Court. But we'll see. There are a lot of interesting things going on right now. I'll tell you what, there's a light over the United States. People are happy. They're more confident. The approval ratings for this country have gone through the sky more than at any time we've had approval ratings. That there's never been anything like it. We've never seen 49 points up. 49 points up. And I think there's a light actually long beyond this country, all over the world. I've been called by other leaders. They said, sir, there's a light over our country right now. There's a light over the world. We got rid of...
Who says that? Why not cite the leaders who are saying this? I like it. It's always vague bullshit.
Horrible and totally inept administration. An administration where the president wouldn't even go and do a Super Bowl interview. For 4 years, I mean, he didn't do a Super Bowl interview. I did. You'll see it in about 1 or 2 hours.
One more question. Do you have an opinion, sir, on whether the referees have been throwing the games to the Chiefs all season?
I don't believe that. No.
Why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center?
Well, I think you're going to have a great game. It's 2 great teams. I don't know. Who knows who's going to win? You have great players, though. You have really superstars playing on both teams. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center?
Because I want to make sure it runs properly. We don't need woke at the Kennedy Center. We don't need some of the shows were terrible. They're a disgrace that they were even put on. So I'll be there until such time as it gets to be running right.
Have you seen any shows there?
I didn't go. No, I got reports that were so bad I didn't want to go. There was nothing I wanted to see. Thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to it. He was great. He's a great guy. He's very sad over his mother's passing. He's a great guy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
He's a great guy.
What is Air Force One traditionally? Is it a 7? Somebody said 747 in chat.
Great guy. I wanted to know. He was great for his mother's passing. He's a great guy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
It's a custom 747. Trump is repainting Air Force One with Trump colors as well. What are Trump colors? Orange? Look at that. The Russie. Holy shit.